Let's make Cajun shrimp mac and cheese.
Hi, Exploring Foods with Smitty family. What I am getting ready to make is Cajun shrimp macaroni and cheese. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this as my main meal because my shrimp is in there. And you can also put sausage or anything else in there you want to put in. So, what I'm going to start off with is we're going to use some garlic herb cheese. And I have some smoked Gouda. And I have some cream cheese. And this is Velveeta cheese. I had this in the refrigerator, so I thought, why not use it? And I'm going to be using some mild cheddar cheese for the sauce. Okay, so what I'm getting ready to do is to cook my pasta. When you're making macaroni and cheese, you can basically use any kind of pasta you want, whatever's to your liking. It's most common to use the elbow type, but for my dish today, I am using the shells because I want my pasta to take in all the flavor of the cheese sauce. So to get my pasta started, what I'm going to do is add a little bit of olive oil to my water. And you add that prevents it from sticking, believe it or not. And then I'm going to sprinkle in a little salt. Now, one thing you can do when you're cooking pasta for any type of meal or something that you're putting together, you can cook your pasta in a stock instead of water because that'll give your pasta a taste. But since I want my pasta to take on the taste of my cheese sauce, I'm going to cook it in water. Okay, so I let my water in my pot heat up, and what I'm going to do is add in my noodles. And like I said, you can use any type you like. I'm using shells just because I want the cheese flavor inside of them. So let's put those in. A little stir. And I'm going to let these cook. And when we come back, we'll be going to the next step. Okay, so I'm going to start working with my shrimp and get it prepared for my Cajun shrimp mac and cheese. And I'm just using regular frozen shrimp that you buy at the store. You can use any type you like. You can use fresh if you'd like, but this just seems to work for me. And it's got the tail off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the shrimp and give it a cut in half. So that it's not, I mean, you can leave it whole if you'd like, but I prefer to cut mine in half. And as you can see, it's still got ice on it, so it's still kind of frozen. But honestly, that's the best way to work with shrimp. Okay, so now that you can see, I've got my shrimp cut up, and I left some pieces whole only because I want to use it on the top as a garnish. So what I'm going to use is some garlic powder. Sprinkle that in. And I sprinkle it on heavy because I like the taste of garlic. You can use fresh garlic if you like. You use some smoked paprika. So, and then I'm going to use the star of the show, some Cajun seasoning. Let's give this. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just massage my shrimp around so that it can get all the flavor. And then what I'm going to do is put it into a bowl and just let it sit in the seasonings and flavors until we're ready to cook it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get my shrimp starting to cook. And I put my skillet on so that it could get really hot, because it's not going to take long for the shrimp to get to cook. So let's get this all over here. And it's really hot. There we go. delicious. And it's almost like I'm stir frying it. The skillet is so hot. Okay, so I'm going to let this finish cooking up. And you know your shrimp is done when it turns pink. Okay, so as you can see, our shrimp is just about done. Well, really, it is done. And I just wish you could smell this because it smells so delicious. I decided to set it aside because I'm going to use all those juices in there to go into my mac and cheese. I'm going to put this up here. Put the top on it. And there we go. Okay, so what I'm getting ready to do is to make the roux for my mac and cheese. And all the roux does really is it makes your sauce thicker. And you know, sometimes you may have, you're making a roux with cheese that may thicken your sauce up itself, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it and not take the chance. Get some slices of butter. There we go. And then once that butter melts down, I'm going to add some flour. Okay, so my butter's starting to melt. And what I'm going to do, because you don't want your butter to burn, so I'm going to go ahead and add my flour in now. And I don't measure, it's just like a heaping teaspoon of flour. And what I'm going to do is just get this all stirred up, like so. And keep stirring it and stirring it. And then I don't want to make a gravy, so I don't want it brown. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and add my milk in. There we go. Let's put in some milk. Okay, so this mixture right here, it's what's going to melt my cheese. Okay, so what I'm going to add in first to my roux here is this is my cream cheese. Just going to pour it in there. And what's going to happen, it's all going to just melt down into one yummy sauce. This is my Velveeta, which is not going to take long to melt down. And one thing about Velveeta, you can't grate it unless you want to mess. Let's go ahead and melt that down. I think I'm going to add a little bit more milk, because this is going to be a nice cheese sauce. Okay, so to this one I'm going to add my garlic and herb cheddar cheese. Let's put that in there. And you can add any kind of cheese as you like. It's just, it depends on your preference. And I wasn't going to add that much of that, but I have some left. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that up and put it in there. It's best to grate your cheese because it melts easier. But at the same time, you don't have to. I'm going to add the rest of this in. Like so. And it's going to melt. Okay, and then to that, my smoked Gouda. For me, this is the star of my mac and cheese. I love smoked Gouda. And it gives your mac and cheese that smoky flavor. There we go. And then to that, I'm going to add in some mild cheddar cheese. You can add mild, sharp, whichever one you want to add. Ooh, I can smell that Gouda already. And then I'm just going to let this get all melted. And then we'll put our mac and cheese together. Because when you think about it, your mac and cheese is already done because you cooked your shrimp and you cooked everything else that needs to go into it. So what you're basically doing, let me move this forward. What you're basically doing is putting your mac and cheese in the oven so the flavors can kind of come together, and basically to brown the top so that you get that brown crust. That looks so delicious. And the more you let it cook, the more it'll start to melt. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little pepper. And I'm not going to add any salt, because that cheese has enough saltiness. And I don't want it to be too salty. Okay, so what I'm going to do is add a dash of the Cajun seasoning. And you can get this at Watkins. The link should be below. And then I'm going to add a little more smoked paprika to give it a little bit more smokiness taste. And I'm just going to keep giving it a stir, because what you don't want it to do is stick. And get all my cheese melted. And my macaroni is going to soak up all of that cheese flavor with the shrimp. Okay, so this is pretty well melted, as you can see, and it's nice and gooey. So what I'm going to do is transfer that to this pot, only because once I put the macaroni in, it's going to be crowded, and I don't like cooking in a crowded pot. So what I'm going to do is move this over here, and I'm just going to go ahead and empty this in. Ooh, that looks so delicious. Get all that yummy cheese out of there. We don't want to leave none in there. There we go. So, now that I have my sauce emptied into my pot, it's going to start to heat up. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and add some macaroni. Just going to put it in here, like so. There we go. And then to that, oh, look at that. Look at how that's taken. Oh, wow. To that, I'm going to go ahead and add my shrimp. And like I said, I want all of that juice out of there that the shrimp cooked in. I want it all out of there. I left some whole to put on the top. I don't think that's going to work for me. So I'm just going to get this all mixed up. Oh, look at how delicious that looks. Okay, so when I come back, I'm going to be putting it in the baking dish, and I'm going to put it in the oven and let it get that crispy top. And then after that, we're going to be tasting some. Okay, so what I would imagine that my macaroni and my Cajun shrimp macaroni and cheese is done. I can hear it bubbling. So let's go ahead and get it out of the oven. Oh boy, am I going to be sharing. There's a lot. Oh, and there it is in its glory. Cajun shrimp macaroni and cheese. It almost looks like the cheese, it almost looks like tomato sauce on top, but it's where the cheese browned, and I wanted it to get good and brown. So I'm going to let this cool off, and when we come back, we're going to be tasting some. Okay, so this is our Cajun shrimp mac and cheese, and let's get a taste of it. And you can see the nice shrimp in there, and it's really
someone was detected at your front door.
It's really, really delicious looking. So let's give it a taste. You can see it's nice and cheesy. See that cheese pool when I lifted it up? And I'm telling, it just smells delicious. So let's give it a minute to cool off and let's give it a taste. Absolutely delicious. The Gouda cheese really, the flavor of the Gouda really comes out. And as I said, cheese has so much salt in it until you don't need to salt anything. And then the choice of pasta that I used, the sauce just melted into the pasta. Absolutely delicious. See, this is one of the pastas. See how the cheese just fell in there? Let's try some shrimp with it. Oh, I mean, it's delicious. And I'm not a big macaroni and cheese fan like her, but I did one video where I made crab macaroni and cheese, and I really did like that. And this is, it's going to be right up there with it. So let's give it a taste with some shrimp. Absolutely delicious. So, thank you for joining me on this edition of Cajun macaroni and cheese. And by all means, give this a try. See you on the next video. Have a wonderful day.